Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Our homage to the worldly one, the blessed one, the self-enlightened one. Dear listeners, Pena pindupamang rupang Vedana bubbulupama Marichikupama sanya Sankhara kadalupama Mayupamancha vinyanang Desita ticha bandhunati. Dear listeners, subject to the discourse today, the infertileness of five clinging aggregates. Lord Buddha has preached Pena Pindupamang Rupang. The form means usually we can take the body as the form, and the all physical things like visuals, sounds, tastes, and etc. we can take as the form, especially the body. Lord Buddha has preached the body like a form. There's two meanings. The form mean now when you use soap, when you take a bath, when you uh, touch your body with the soap, then there is arising some form. This body also like a form. Why? It's always arising, passing. It always ceasing. The form always ceasing. It will survive only a little time. The body also like this. Vedana bubbulupama are the sensations like a water bubble. Like a water bubble. When raining, there's water bubbles arising and passing in a muddy mud. The sensations also like this. The pleasant sensations arising, passing. The unpleasant sensations are rising and passing. The neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensations also rising and passing always. And the perceptions also same. Marichikupama sanya. That means you know when in a hot season you can see some water in the road, but there is no water, but you can see water. I think the name is Mirage. You're thinking there's water, but there is no any water. Like the same manner, we are thinking this is a phone, this is a wall, this is a bottle, this is he is that that person. Like that way, we are giving aliveness to all kind of concepts. I have mentioned you earlier the stanza like this. Akkeya sanjino satta, akkeyasmin patittita, akkeyang aparinyaya yogamachanti machuno. Akkeya sanjino satta. The beings with linguistic patterns, akkeyasmin patittita. They footed on the language patterns. Akkeyang aparinyaya, because of unknowing of linguistic patterns, yogamachanti machuno. They catch to the Mara's tangle. So what we have to do is we need to understand, we need to comprehend the reality of the perceptions. Perceptions like a mirage. We think there's a phone, we think there's a person, we think there's a wall, there's a tree, but it is just like this. I'll tell you an example. You can go to and in front of a mirror and you can see your face from this mirror. After that, you take your mother or father into the mirror and you go some another side. In this moment, if you think, still I am my reflection on the mirror, is it right or wrong? If you think, still am I on mirror, is it a right prediction or an illusion? It is an illusion. But you can think, I am on the mirror. In the same manner, now you are hearing my sound. After a little time, your mind will go to another object and you may think on that. After a little time, your concentration again comes to my sound. After that, you can think, oh, I missed that few seconds of the sermon. You think how I missed the sound of the sermon, but the sound was really existing. That is wrong, my dear listeners. First of all, I must tell you there is two categories in our experiences in the world. That is, one is the mind knowing things, and another one is the mind unknowing things. As an example, when you are in a deep sleep, if you breathe in, you don't know you are thinking, you don't know I am breathing or not. But the physical breath is there. But it will not make any sense. Because why? If you have not any conscious, there is no problem anymore. The consciousness is the cause. That's why Lord Buddha has praised Yankinchi dukkang sambodhing sabbhang vijnana pachaya vijnanasya nirodhena natti dukkasa sambhav. In the Dvaitanupassana Sutta, he has preached Yankinchi dukkang sambodhing. If there's some suffering or stress arises, sabbhang vijnana pachaya. They all are because of the cause of cognitions, because of the cause of consciousness. Vijnana sanirodhena. If the consciousness is not there, nati dukkha sambhava. There is no any kind of suffer or stress. All kind of problems arise with the mind knowing side. If anything mind doesn't know, there is nothing to be worried because it is not make any sense. If someone blame to you or your parents while you are in a deep sleep, there is no problem. But if mind knows something, that's a problem. So always in the Dhamma, I'm talking about a mind knowing pattern. Because Lord Buddha also same. Because why? Our problem is with cognitions. Because the suffering always arises in a cognition. There is no way to exist suffering without the cognition or consciousness. No way. So we must understand the reality of mind knowing experiences. So if you hear sound, that is just cognition. But as a work of this cognition, your mind creates a duality. Inside of the mind, it creates a duality. There's an independent sound, and there's an independent ear and sound. Always mind knowing world and a concept of I arises in a cognition, arises in a consciousness. As a work of a cognition, diluted mind shows a duality. Inside of the mind, here is a visual, here is a person who is looking. So that's why I can proclaim an arahant look at the world as a duality which makes in a mind what is infertile. But ordinary people look at the world as fertile. They make duality as fertile and established and independent. But for an arahant, he looks a world which creates inner cognition. Sometimes when you are meditating, you are thinking, I avoid the past, I will avoid the future, and I will avoid the present moment. And I'm in the present moment. But it's wrong. Because we can't avoid present, past, or future. Because we can't experience past or future. You just have to experience the present moment here and now. Past mean a memory of the mind of the mind arise in this moment. Just a thought. The future also just a thought, nothing else. So you must know there is no any independent thing called past. There is no any independent thing called future. Always you have to live in the present and now, here and now. And you're thinking the body as a real thing, as an established thing. You think body as an established thing separate from the mind. The body is existing like that way, but it's wrong. You always experience the body. The mind knowing body always arises in a cognition of I, or a cognition of ear, or a cognition of body, or a cognition of the mind, as a thought, or as a tangible, or as a visual, or as a sound. Those are the only ways we can experience the body. But the diluted mind is conceiving there's an independent and established body without my cognition, without my understanding, without my knowing. It is wrong. Mind knowing reality always creates in a present cognition, in a present consciousness. As a work of consciousness, inside of the mind, you are conceiving a duality as visual and eye, ear and sound, body and tangible, mind and thought, and etc. So you must understand this. So according to that example, if you think my sound, I missed the sound in a few seconds, you have not missed any established sound, because there is no sound without an, you can't conceive about a sound without a consciousness, without a cognition. In that time you cognize another thing. If now you are thinking I missed that sound, that is a thought in the mind. So just a thought. The problem is we always conceiving an actual world, an actual person. But this duality always arises in the mind as a work of consciousness, as a work of cognition. So that's why Lord Buddha has praised the perceptions like a mirage. Mirage. We perceive this is a phone, but it's just a cognition. If you think this is a phone, it's right like that, but that is a conceiving of our mind. The linguistic patterns are conceivings always. Because of taking these linguistic patterns as a reality, that is a main cause of the samsara. the tangle of samsara. And sankhara kadalupama, the preparations of the mind, like finding a fertile log on a banana tree. If we cut a banana tree, we can't find a fertile log. There is no wood inside the banana tree. You can't find. It is infertile. Like that way, sometimes you're thinking, I must think on this matter, but all kind of mental preparations are very infertile. In the past, how many times you have you have got it anger? How many times you are keep your thinking on anger? How many times you have keep your thoughts on lust and greed or the jealousy? Those all have gone. You can't take it again. Gone is gone. Now also same, if you think on something, if you want, as a human beings, you have to live in the world, so you can take one decision by your brain. So keep it away and stop the thinking. Thinking always gives you stress. You can't stop thinking by force, but you can stop thinking by understanding this thinking is not mine. It is not me. It is not my soul or self. By understanding the soullessness, selflessness, you can stop the thinking. After this, final Lord Buddha has proclaimed Mayupamancha Vijnana. Consciousness, cognitions are an illusion. It's like a magician. It was so infertile, an illusion. Why? Always consciousness, the cognitions tell you, shows you an actual world, an actual people, actual myself. But those all kind of things are conceivings what is inside of our mind. That duality creates in our mind in the present moment, in a thought, in a cognition. Unless there's no cognition, there is just understanding, just 100% awareness. There can't be existing any kind of permanent sound or visual or any kind of thing, because those all are reflections. You knows what you are experiencing. You know what you are experiencing. Again, I'll tell you, for an arahant, for an enlightened person, he have to look only an infertile duality which creates in the mind. But for an ordinary person, he have to look. He have to live in a fertile world, fertile duality, an established duality, an independent duality. But for an arahant, that duality is creating in his mind in each and every cognitions. If you tell this is a chair, after that chair, when I recall about the chair, you got a consciousness or the cognition on chair. Unless you will not have any consciousness about the chair. So if you look at the chair, your mind conceiving there's a chair, there's an established and independent chair, but you just have a consciousness, a cognition. But inside of the cognition, as a work of this cognition, inside of the mind, the eluded mind creates you and duality. Oh, there's a chair. Here is I am. So within this understanding, you can attain the Nibbana. For here and now also. You can understand this. Close your eyes and understand and comprehend. This body is always changing. I can't control this. I'm abandoning this. I don't need this. I abandon this. Abandon it from the mind, from one side. And these sensations are very infertile. I can't control. It is arising according to their causes. It's also infertile. The perceptions also seem so infertile. Perceptions arises because of the ignorant linguistic patterns. And the volitional activities also like us like searching wood on in a bamboo tree in a banana tree. It's also infertile. Especially those cognitions also so infertile. It's like an illusion. It shows you a real thing, real world, but it's always conceiving inside our mind. Once we understand the present moment, it is the way to overcome of the suffering. It is the way to overcome of the stress. It is the way to overcome from fatigue. It is the way to overcome from lust. It's the way to overcome of hatred, jealousy, greed, and all kind of demerits. So once again, abandon those 5 clicking aggregates for 5 sides. I abandon the body, abandon the sensations, I abandon the perceptions, I abandon the volitional activities, and I abandon the cognitions, consciousnesses by taking as things. So after that, you will have very pleasant emptiness. Now you're thinking this emptiness is I'm experiencing it. No, it also just a cognition. As a work of this cognition inside of the mind, it shows you a established cognition, emptiness, and person who's experiencing. So this emptiness also impermanent and selfless. Abandon this emptiness also. and abandon the idea of abandoning. So now you'll have the stilling of all preparations, the relinquishment of all assets, destruction of craving, detachment, cessation of existence. That is Nibbana. So I wish you all to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.